Well, Donald Trump winning in a landslide on the Republican side is, as Annie was mentioning there, a strong indicator that he'll be on the national ballot come November. If that happens, it won't be welcome news for some Canadians who told the Angus Reid Institute in a new survey that they don't think U.S. democracy can survive another Trump term. For more on those survey results, we're joined by Shachi Kurl. She's the president of the Angus Reid Institute. Shachi, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. Another interesting survey here. And, you know, we care about this stuff a lot in the sense of just what sort of economic impact a different president could have on this country. But it is interesting to look at it from the perspective of Canadians and how they think things are going there and the impact that it could have as well. So tell us a little bit more about this concern about democracy in the United States.
Well, when you've got 61% of Canadians saying that they're either not very confident or not confident at all, Jackie, that the checks and balances and safeguards exist in order to prevent widespread fraud and cheating in the upcoming November presidential election, that's a pretty significant indictment of just how dimly or how in what a fragile way we view the institutions of American democracy. And if you take a step back and think back a generation, 20 years, 40 years, 60 years, would Canadians have ever said that we don't actually trust the infrastructure of a U.S. election system, that we consider it on par with a lot of other shaky democracies, that we wouldn't see an outcome that actually reflects what happens and the way Americans cast their ballots? So that is something that really jumps out to me, along with the idea or the notion that Canadians subscribe to. Nearly half of them say that America is on its way to becoming an authoritarian nation. And when you hear Donald Trump talk about things like, oh, well, you know, if I get reelected, there's going to be retribution, I think that really does give Canadians the heebie-jeebies in a way that maybe they didn't have in 2016, maybe they didn't have in 2020, but they definitely have in 2024.
Yeah, and I mean, talking about the potential of a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the U.S. could be one to be potentially concerned about as well. You know, and it's interesting, even the language in some of the questions, like an authoritarian state, you probably wouldn't have been asking those questions a couple of years ago either. When it comes to Canadians' perceptions of the U.S. as a dominant player in the global economy or what have you, what were their thoughts on that one?
We really wanted to dial in a series of questions to Canadians about, okay, well, there's two potential outcomes for the election. You could have Democrats in the White House again. You could have Republicans potentially under Trump in the White House. What we find is that while Canadians generally prefer Biden across issues of overall better for the relationship between U.S. and Canada, better for border security, better for the economy, 53% of Canadians say Biden would be better. I think what stands out for me is the fact that you've got nearly 30% of Canadians who actually say it wouldn't make a difference. And that speaks to, frankly, you know, Canadians are pretty realistic people. We've heard a lot of America first or protectionist rhetoric coming out of the Biden White House. And I think Canadians are realistic to the idea and the notion that regardless of who's in the White House, Canada's going to be on the receiving end of an upcoming U.S. Canada-Mexico free trade agreement review, no matter who's in the White House in this next term.
Shachi,